So we are in call recording. So today we're going to go, we're doing part two of the Google applications, and we're going to cover calendars, right? Calendars and contacts. Contacts are, let's go through contacts real quick, because contacts are pretty, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory, a little intuitive. If you notice my contacts, it's Chevy Chase, and then Chevy Chase movie characters, the Griswold family, Irwin Fletcher from the movie Fletch, and then Ty Webb was his character in Caddyshack. So I just, I had to come up with a group of people. It was going to be either Winnie the Pooh or Chevy Chase, so I chose Chevy Chase, right? Thought it was a little more adult oriented. There's somebody reading. I can tell when the people read their email, so we may have people logging in now. So, yep, there's Brooke. Brooke is coming in. So, are you in yet, Brooke? Are you on audio? So anyway, so so what do you call it? So here we are with contacts. Contacts are pretty basic. There's two basic modes of contact. There's two basic modes of contact. Number one is you have what they call business and business and like personal, right? And I don't even see that in here. It used to be, I thought it was in this setting, right? So, and then it has a restore, that kind of stuff. Just click around, So, but I was always under the impression you can change it to a business or personal under there. Maybe it's in this area here, right? So, yeah, there it is. So when you actually have a contact open, you can choose whether it's business or standard, right? So standard just kind of changes things a little bit. I just kind of do business. One of the things business will do is it'll kind of like make the business feature, like business questions, more prominent than say a home question, right? Things like that. But there's several things you can do with a contact. Number one is you can you can add them to groups. Groups are ways of organizing people into group. Obviously groups, right? That's like contact types as other formats we'll use. So with groups, so you just try to keep your groups, right? So we have the Chevy Chase group, right? The SOI, they're in our SOI. So when I click on SOI, here's everybody in our SOI, right? So that would be our SOI group just by clicking on it. So anybody in there, and you can see over here on the right, they're my contacts. They're also part of the Fletch group, and then they're also part of their SOI. So they can be in multiple groups, right? And you want to keep track of it that way. There's a few things you can do. So one is we talked about golden retriever. So different things, like you can track everything with notes, right? So because remember, every Google product comes with, or every Google application comes with Google search technology, right? And you'll hear me say that over and over and over. And that's a critical thing to know because it helps you. So if you're talking to a client on the phone and they're telling you that they like golf or they have a golden retriever, it's nice to know that. So, but golf is a good one. Golf, I think, is a really good example for real estate. So let's go to, so that's Chevy Chase. Let's go to Ty Webb. Ty Webb was the Chevy Chase's character in the Caddyshack where he was actually a golf pro. So we're going to just type in the notes, right? Likes golf. So that's it. We're going to, and then it saves, it kind of saves automatically, but you can actually force it to save a little quicker. So now we have a contact that likes golf. So, a year from now, you're out showing houses, you list a house on a golf course, and my gosh, you're like, man, who was that guy that liked golf? And you can just come up and search, right? Golf. And there it is. Bang, pulled the contact right up. I mean, so those are the kind of things you can do. So you want to leave notes there. That's a great thing because it's searchable. The other thing, obviously, emails. You can change these labels. So if you click on the little label, you can change it from homework to custom. Custom means you can add the client's name. So if you have, where if you have multiple people under a contact record, it doesn't always transfer well on the phone. So which is kind of a bummer, But if you're pulling up your contacts, you can tell whose phone it is if you have a couple. So one of the tricks that I've done, because people don't have home phones anymore. So one of the things I've learned to do as a format is whoever so if you have a couple, and if one of them, whoever you make them mobile, and then you make the other person home, right? Because we all know what a contact. So like I have so uh, whoever in other words, usually one versus the other, right? If you know a couple, it's because you met the couple through one person, blah blah, whatever, right? So whichever one you connect with, you use their mobile, the other person home, or whatever the system you decide. In other words, you can make up your own, but the idea is you always have this format in mind that if you're not sure, so if I pull up this contact and they have two phones, then I know my primary person that I'm connected with is going to be the mobile number, and the home number is going to be the other person. So that's just a little trick that I've worked around, learned to do. And then of course properties, you can put in multiple properties. You just go ahead and add another one, and then you can label them, right? Home, business, other, right? So if they have rental properties, you can just go in and let's just create a 123 Main Street, right? Main Street, and then Salt Lake City, Utah 84101, and then we're just going to come over here and change it to custom, and then we're just going to call it rental, right? And that's it. So now we got a rental property in the database. So that's pretty slick. And then the other thing down here I like is add. If anybody, does anybody ever click this button? I feel like sometimes I'm the only guy on earth that actually like clicks buttons. So if you click on this button, look at all the possibility fields you can add, right? Title and company, phonetic name, nickname, file as, notes, email, phone, address, birthday, URL, relationship. Relationship's good. Let's say you have a family, and then so let's see. We're going to let's go back to Chevy Chase, and then we're going to go to Chevy. He has a relationship, so we're just going to say relationship. It's either spouse, or we can just call it anything else, right? We can call it whatever we want, right? So we can come down to custom and just say character. Okay, see, and whatever we want, and then we're just going to tie web to it, right? Tie web is one of Chevy Chase's characters, and then we're going to just boom. So now it's added. So now when we go to search, I can search tie web, right? So if I search tie web, they both pull up because Ty is now a relationship with Chevy Chase. So Erwin Fletcher is in a relationship with Chevy Chase too. So if I pull up Chevy, right? So Chevy Chase, Erwin Fletcher, because he was created as a relationship as the lender. So you can tie your lender together and all that kind of stuff. Now I don't advise it. My recommendation: don't get too hog wild, because it just gets complicated after a while. And part of the game is always to be simple. Yeah, simple means you'll do it. Okay. By you doing it, it is far superior than any other product you've never used, right? So you can go out and buy the greatest CRM since sliced bread that is just the greatest. I mean, it is the bomb, right? But because it's so complex, you won't use it. Therefore, it's sitting on a shelf collecting dust. And then at that point, it's actually not a very good software. So simple softwares that you actually use are, in my opinion, the best. And that's why I like just to Google CR contacts, because you don't need to be that complex. You just don't. So there's a few things that, doesn't do it like as slick as some of the other tools. But again, because the other tools are so complex, you stop using them. Therefore, they're not good. So that's just kind of my take on that. So now let's look at something else real quick. We have docs, right? So this is pretty slick, because you can come down here and add, click on that and say add a URL. So what I've done here is, if you go into my Google Drive on that account, right? So let's see, I have clients. So if I click open clients, there's a list of clients. So I was on Chevy Chase, that's my contact. I go back to Google Drive, and Chevy Chase isn't in there. So I don't know how that happened. So, so let's go pick another client. Clark, let's see who's in there, right? So we got Griswold's in there. So we're going to click on Clark W. Griswold. So, and then if I want to go to Clark W. So I'm going to click on Clark's, I'm going to double click his folder because I double clicked it. That URL is now the URL for his folder. So I can go back to that contact and just click add URL, paste it in there, right? And I can change the name here and then boom. So now that we have that open, right? So we can just go back to Drive. But if I need to open, so if I just open up my contact, I can just come over here, click on the chain link, and it'll pull up his file folder. Pretty slick. It also has built in up at the top more. If you go down, it says view recent conversations. So it's going to pull up any emails you've had with that contact. So from the contact, you can actually what do you call it? You can search their emails, you can search their documents, and of course, the nerd that I am, if I use Google Voice as a phone, this is my other demo account. But as you can see that, so like if I do, let's say, so Rob, so I should be in there as well. We'll just search my phone number, and then what do you call it? It'll pull me up it should pull me up as a name, right? So it just says me. But so in other words, if you have your client's phone number and you use Google Voice, so then I could just take that link from that URL, because remember, everything cloud-based has a URL, so I can just click add URL and call it a phone log custom, and then just go phone log, right? So now, which also is my text log too, right? So here we are. So now I'm in my contact. I just scroll over to the link, and then I click the chain link, and it will open up my Google Voice and run a report of all instances with that phone number. So I have the ability right from Gmail contact to track to have a link to my documents, the phone log, and then the calendar one is not working like it used to. Google made some challenges. They've made some changes in the calendar, and I was playing around with them, and I haven't really gotten them fixed. It seems to work somewhat, but these are pulling up. So this seems to be working. I ran into a couple challenges with them, so that I'm not going to push that part yet. But the idea is, because remember, everything Google has Google search technology, and we'll get into the calendar how to search. So obviously, you can search anything inside here, whether it be a notes, whether it be information in one of the fields. So like if you have, zip codes 84102, so you just type in there 84102, and it pulls up everybody with that zip code. So, and then one of the challenges you'll find if you got a large database, they're like, at Comcast. Well, you're going to find out you got 150 people that have at Comcast.com email address or Comcast.net. So that can be a little challenging. But so the whole idea is you want to definitely keep people in your SOI. Past clients can be an SOI too, right? So if they're just because they're an SOI, that doesn't mean they actually are a past client. But we can go in there and add a past client as an additional contact, and so you just go in and say, okay, create new, and then just type it in. Then you just have to type PC, right? Past client, and then we're going to add that contact to a past client. So, because remember, past clients have actually used you, right? And then they've actually used you. And then you can also use the ABC if you want, right? People that have sent you referrals in the past, you want to make them an A, right? SOI, A, SOI. You don't want to, you want to make it an additional, so in other words, you can do, let's say SOIA if you want, whatever works best for you. So you can just go in there and say SOIA, right? And then now, boom, you have an additional SOI. So now, if you want to go back and search all your A's, then you just go and either search up here or click here. And now you can pull up all your SOIs that are A's, right? So you can add them to multiple groups, and try to keep it really kind of, very organized, but don't get granular. If you get granular, you're going to make the thing complex. The moment it's complex, it no longer works because you will stop using it. Once you stop using it, it no longer works. It's just that simple. So, You want to keep things like lender, title, inspector, that type of thing, appraiser, insurance, if they're in the insurance business. Then I've done tradesmen's, right? So tradesmen's, so like, for example, you can do tradesmen's. So let's just open up flat, or, let's say this guy's he's in the trades. So you can put job title, painter, so just put job title there, right? So but you can add the contact group tradesman, right? So you just say new, and you can just say tradesman, and then, or trades, whatever you want, and then boom. But so now you have a group of tradesmen. But if you need to go find that painter because you gave them the job title as painter, you now can go find them. So that it's all about putting things away properly, is making things easy to find. But you have to be systematic, right? You always want to be very systematic. One of the things I've learned to do is I don't use dots. So, and I've been very consistent with my S, like say it's 123 South Main Street. So I'm going to do an uppercase S and a space, no punctuation marks, right? So I don't use SO, I don't use NO, I don't do lowercase. Be very, very consistent with your data entry. But the more consistent you are entering, the easier it is to simply find things. You got a small list, it's not that hard to do. But if you're going to track through a couple thousand people in a database, somebody you met 5 years ago, right, at a party, likes golf, go find them. So you just never know. So that's kind of it on the contacts. You just kind of poke around there and play around them. But the key is to think about it prior to just doing it, right? You always hear me say that. Don't just go willy-nilly start. Have a plan. A plan is good. A plan is how you get somewhere. Plan is how you know if you're on the right track. So anyway, so that's that. So now let's jump over to calendars real quick. So calendars, this is my world. My children have learned that if they want something from me, either send me an email, but if they have to be somewhere, then they have to put it on a calendar. And if it's on the calendar, because if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist, right? So this is my demo account. So the first thing we're going to look at is a couple things. One, that we're going to go, as in everything else, you have settings, right? So Google contact settings is, let's go back to that real quick. Very minimal right here, just a few items, right? Gmail settings, remember we looked in there. We had, oh my gosh, you had this page, but this was, you had all these tabs. Each tab had its own page, right? So, and then, so now we're into calendar. If you go into calendar settings, right, you have a little more than you did in contacts, but over here you have calendars, and then you have labs, right? So we always want to go in our labs real quick and add any features and benefits, just like we did in email. We did the quick links, and then we did the right side chat. Those were labs we added to our calendar, right? And labs are just simply functions that someone has written and they've added it to it. And then sometimes in the future, they actually upgrade it to where it's no longer in the lab. It's just built into the So these are like add-ons. A lot of the labs get integrated directly into the application. So some of the labs, if you'll see the ones that I use, right? So they're enabled, right? Hide morning and night. So that's nice, where you can hide, time frames. You can set the time frames that you want to view. Like say 6 a.m. to like 9 o'clock at night. You don't need to see, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Whatever, 5 a.m. But they're there if you want them. They're just not in your plain view. Okay, that's one of the things I do. Free or busy, that's pretty cool. I'll show you that. And then jump to date is a nice one. And then next meeting, that's a handy little bugger. So then you just hit save, and you're back to your calendar. So let's look at some of these. Free or busy. No, that actually is this actually works if you have an organization, if you have multiple people under the same domain. You can put in their email address and see if they're free or busy. So actually, let's close that one. So jump to date is a very good one. So let's say you need to go to a date in the future. Instead of clicking here and here and here, let's say just June 9th, 2018. I just scroll down to, June 9th, 2018, and just jump to that date. That's a handy little bugger. Not to a whole lot of calendar things you do. Things there. I'll show you what things I do. Then one of the main features I do is, well, you can see that I have a 3-week view, right? That's a pretty handy bugger. 3-week view allows you to get a list of things here. Where if you do a month, they're all kind of like tiny, and it's kind of hard to see. If you do one day or 1 week, you don't see future. It's kind of hard. Where this kind of gives you a really nice forecast. It's a really good view. And the way you set that is you go under settings, right? And then you scroll down to it's a custom view. And then here's all the possible custom views: 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. I choose the 3 weeks. The other thing is, so then I got to change that to custom is my default view. The other thing I personally do, I know it drives people crazy sometimes when we're at the meetings, but I start my week on Monday. You know, to split the weekend up into 2 separate weeks is like, I mean, that's just not how we live. So why, you know, we live Monday through Friday and weekends. So why not have the weekends together and your Monday, and just kind of save them together, right? So when you show up, so right there. So my week starts on Monday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? You want to see your Friday and Saturday next to each other. I mean, that's hello, you know? So, and then you want to see your groups. That's just how I do it. It takes a while to get used to. It's one of those ones where once you get used to it, you'll be glad you did. So, that's that. So that's the settings. One of the other things I like to do is I use multiple calendars. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So if you look over here, well, one is birthdays. Birthdays is a default. So then I do deadlines. This is one that I do. This is an additional calendar I make. So two main calendars I like is showings and deadlines, and I'll show you why. Right. So deadlines, and the reason why I create separate calendars for those is because you can have default settings for those particular calendars. So the way you create a calendar is, I think you can do it here. Yeah, just create new calendar. So we're going to create one on the fly. So we're going to create it, and we're going to call it webinar deadlines, right? And then we're going to name it. So now, so we're going to create the calendar. So you can share it. If you share it, then you can make it public. If you put it public, you can actually take this calendar, post it on a website, or share a link and people can see things. You can either show them all details. You can get meta rights. You can do all kinds of crazy things. So let's just create the calendar for now. And then it had, so now we can go back to, where to go? Webinar deadlines. So we can go back to the settings, right? So go back to calendar settings. And then you got all kinds of things. We're in that particular calendar. So you can set your time zone, right? So the time zone here is mountain time. Currently, because we turned our clocks the way they are, actually we should be, no, we're the same as Arizona in the fall. So that's correct time, right? So we're at -6 mean time. Greenwich Mean Time is what that stands for. So you can put your location if you want, that kind of stuff. And then here's how you can either embed. You can take this HTML code, and actually embed it on a website. You can just get the iCal. You can export it, all that kind of stuff. So, but let's go into other features, right? So, for example, and this is the share calendar, right? So you want to share it then. But here's the one, edit notifications. This is the reason why I create different calendars, because I want, for my deadlines, I want multiple notifications, right? So the first thing I do is I go, so these are event notifications all day, right? So I make all my deadlines 8 a.m., right, on my calendar. Now I know that the REPSI says 5 p.m. unless otherwise noted. However, I don't want to know at 5 p.m. I want to know at 8 a.m. So let's just go ahead and create a calendar. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, I want to change that to a 5, and then I'm going to tab over. I just have to type in the letter D, and it turns the days, right? So I got, so now I created 5 days, then I'm going to do 3 days, right? And then I'm going to do enter, and then I'm going to do, and that's it too. You can change these to email, right? So each one of these are email. So then I'm going to do one day, right? So one day, then I'm going to do add notification, and then I'm going to do email, and then I'm going to do, now I'm going to do 5 minutes, right? So these are now I'm going to save. So now that I saved those are the default reminder system for that particular calendar, right? So calendar settings, then we go to, and it also, so you got your edit notifications. Also from the front page, you can take you right there. You can add mobile, right? So where is that? So these are for all day notifications. We don't, so let's see, where is, I know it's, the last time I was here, it was like this, it was like a basic button sitting right there. So you can do email. So choose how you'd like to be kept up to date. You won't receive an email update when somebody invites you to an event. Yeah, we don't want that. Unless somebody, yeah, if somebody invites you, you want to get an email, right? You want to know, right? Cancel events, all that kind of stuff. There is a setting in here somewhere for mobile, and not sure. Let me look at my main calendar real quick. So here's what one looks like with with stuff all over, right? So let's go in this shared, because we want to. I think you have to actually maybe set it up to where you actually have to add the phone number or something like that. You have to create like yeah, down here. Let's see, daily agenda. If you have SMS, so let's go back to the other one, emails. Google, yeah. So it's that Google, man. The Google Plus settings. I think that's probably where it's going to be. And then if you have a phone, so anyway, you have to poke around in there, but you'll get an email. As long as you get emails on your phone, you're good to go. Don't worry about it. So, but there's definitely ways where you can create text reminders. So let's get back to calendar. Where did I go? I close it. So calendar. All right. So so you can see that I'm creating 4 reminder defaults, right, for my deadlines calendar. So now I have a deadlines calendar. I have a demo deadline here. I have the webinar deadline. So and you can edit the color, right? So you can change the color. So I like to do green things that are income generation. Deadlines are kind of like red. You want them to be standing out and hardcore. So watch how this works. So then. So now what happens is, if you want to create a calendar event, you can just hit create, right? And then the whole create window pops up. Now, one of the things I do is because remember, everything you do with Google comes with Google searching. How do you find things easily? Put them away properly. Have a very consistent system, right? Consistency is the key. So the way I do this is I do client name, and now you don't all have to do what do you call it? I just do their last name, right? But then I do a space / space. Then I do say property address 123 Main Street, right? So, and you don't need Main. I mean, you don't need the word street. So then I do space / space. Then I'll do the type of deadline, due diligence, right? So do whatever's on your rep sheet, because you could call it your inspection deadline if you want, but that's not what the rep sheet says. So again, learn to be very consistent. It's just a good practice to be very consistent. So then I go back to, and then I add the space / space, and I add the word deadline, right? So then I come down here and let's say whatever to say the due diligence deadline is the 14th, and then it's 8 a.m. and then just a 30-minute appointment. It doesn't matter. It ends on the same day. And then you come down here and then you change the calendar, webinar deadlines. That's how you make it. See, when I change that, boom, populated all 4 of the default deadlines. Now you can invite the client to it, right? You can invite their email. Now it shows up on their calendar. But whatever calendar it appears on those, it adopts their default notification settings. It doesn't take yours. It takes theirs. So whatever they have on the calendar that they set this on, it's going to take their reminders. So then you can even do the event color, right? Boom, you can turn that red, and I'll show you what it does. So now we're going to hit save, right? So we're going to hit save, and then there it is. So it took that little, not only did the color go this color, but it actually added that little doohickey there, right? So if it's an all-day event, it would look like Father's Day. So now we have that deadline there, right? So now let's do another deadline. Now, oh, and one of the things I'm going to show you is that I'm going to give you is, let's see, deadline. I created a spreadsheet for you. Deadline creator, right? So so here's a spreadsheet. I'll share it with you. So what this does is, because you want to so all you have to do is change the last name. So we'll put in Chase as his last name, and then we'll say that he lives on 1313 Mockingbird Lane, right? Mockingbird Lane, right? That's his address, right? Boom. And what that did is that just created these deadlines. So you just have to come over to the sheet, copy, go back to your calendar, and then hit create. Pick the date. And we'll say that's the following week. Drop in the event. Boom. Oh, and I got diligent spelled wrong. Let's spell that right now. And then we're gonna go. I'll fix it in the calendar. So, but that's so that's and then you just pick your deadline calendar, and then you're good to go. Everything's 8 a.m. Make sure you do that, and then now you have all your calendar. Boom! It just added it to the calendar. See, it added it there. But this little spreadsheet. So I need to fix that there. So take out one of the L's. So what this does, whatever information up here, it creates this right here. So that's all set up to where you can go through and just, all you have to do is add these two pieces of information, and you've created these. So handy little bugger. So I'll share that with you. I'll put the link to that calendar. And what I'll do is, the way you do it is it's going to be a shared link, and then you open it, that spreadsheet, and then you have to make a copy in order to make it edited. In other words, you can't edit my copy, but when you go, so the way you do it is when you're in a file, you just go file, create, make a copy, rename it. Your copy you'll be able to edit. You just won't be able to edit mine. Because remember, this is my live file on my drive. If you edit it, you've edited mine. So we're not going to do that. Anyway, so that's it on deadlines. So any questions, thoughts on that right now? Okay. So sounds like the listening audience went out and rolled a fat one or something. Anyway, all right, let's get going. So the second calendar I like to create is called showings. And the reason why I want to do showings is because I can have a bunch of showings. Say I'm going out Saturday, right? I'm going to go out Saturday, and I'm going to show a bunch of houses, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Saturday. I'm just going to open. Let's just do create event, right? All right, there it is. So I'm going to do. So what I like to do is enter in say like the address 123 Main, right? And then I like to do the listing agent's phone number 801-555-1212, right? So then I put the date. Now it's not as important. The time frame isn't as important. We're not going to be. This isn't about exactly what time we're going to be at places. We just want to have them spaced out a little bit. So we'll just leave out a 10 to 10:30. That's it, right? So then we're going to put in the address, right? So I'm going to use my personal address, 7461 South, 2300. As you start to type it in, Google auto-populates or auto-suggests. Click on that address, then go to showings. And the reason why I go to showings, my showings has no notifications. What I don't want is, I don't need these notifications. I just need them on my calendar, right? So then what happens is, we're going to show that house. So we leave it there, and then boom, it shows up. So we'll do one more real quick, and then we're going to do, let's see, one of my old addresses, right? 848 Downington Avenue, right? So Downington, maybe it was east. Maybe I need the east, right? Oh no, yeah. So I don't need it for there. That's just it. All right. Then I'm gonna put in the listing agent's phone number 801-999-999, right? Then down here is the address, and then we're gonna make this one 11 o'clock because the other one was 10:30. Then we're gonna do the address 848 East Downington, and then we're gonna keep going Downington Street in Midvale. We're gonna go Downington Avenue in Salt Lake. So we're going to hit there. So boom. So then I go down, change it to my showings calendar, and then I'll show you what happens. So I put the wrong date. I can just drag it over there. Isn't that cool? So now when I open up my phone, these are on my phone, and I'm going to show you on the screen, and I'm not going to be able to show you on the phone. But if you click, and this works exactly the same on the phone. If you click on the event, you got the map. You click on the map, and if you're on your phone, it'll be your GPS. So now you got the address to your, and knows where you're at. Your GPS says from current location. You say yes. So then, boom, it starts giving you turn-by-turn directions to the property, right? Gosh, look at that. We cleaned that all up. So, but anyway, so then you're at the next property, and it's time to go to the next one. You just say, hit the next address, and it will give you turn-by-turn directions from your current location. So, boom, you can sit there. You got the listing agent's phone number in case you have a question. You got right on your calendar. You pull it up. You just say, boom, you call the agent, leave them a message. I can't make it, whatever, right? You don't have to fumble through everything. You got the calendar event. It's just awesome, right? So, I mean, I hope that's a very useful tool right there, in my opinion. So, so those are the kind of things I like to do on calendars. You can create many calendars. I have, as you noticed on my the calendar I showed you, is that my personal one calendar? Back to calendars, right? Back to calendars. Yeah, this is my personal one. So this is my son's baseball league. This is my ex's work schedule, my daughter's work schedule. This is the webinar thing. My own schedule right there. No, that's mine. Is this called? Nope, not even. Mine's either purple. The purple, this one, and these one. These are my colors, right? But then I got birthdays up there. It's just all kinds of calendars. So the other thing is, it's really cool is you can, if you go back to so let's see, because you have other calendars, right? You can add other people's calendars here. So if somebody sends you a URL, you just open it up and you put a contact email address, or actually if you're in the same domain. That's if you're in the same domain. So we don't really take advantage of some of that. You put in their email, it just adds their calendar, right? If they've given you permission to see it. Or if you have admin rights to your calendar, you can definitely do it. The other one is, so you click on this, it says browse interesting calendars. This is pretty cool, right? So you can do holidays from all over the world. You can just subscribe to them. If if you're from Latvia, man, you got the Latvia holidays, So, things like that. If you have, if you predominantly work a particular nationality, you put their calendar, their holidays on your calendar, and now then you can honor them. You can call them up and wish them happy whatever day, right? That's that one. You got more here. You got the Hebrew calendar, phases of the moon, that kind of stuff you can do. And then you got sports. If you're a sport fan, you can say pick football, choose NFL, pick your favorite football team, and it will add that team to your calendar. So in fact, let's just go watch what it looks like. We can jump to say September 9, 2016. You'll start to see we'll be over here on Sunday. There's the Eagles game. It'll show you the calendar. Now, the cool part is if you're a sports fan, if we go back, say, to 2015, right? So we go back a year, right? And then we hit jump to date. And then we're going to see the Sunday once it pops up. And then if they played Sunday, maybe they played Monday. So they didn't play. Maybe they were off that week. They get 1 week off, right? So here it is. So then if you pull it up, it actually shows you the score. And the thing, if you hit the more details, it even gives you the box score. Just, whoopee, but I mean, if it's kind of a cool feature, and then you always jump to today, you just hit the today button, right? So that's a pretty cool little feature as far as calendars go. But this is a very powerful tool. Use it, right? So if you're on the phone with a client and they say, call me next Thursday. So then you come over here and you go, next Thursday is the 16th. You just go, you hit create, or if you hit Thursday at that time frame, it kind of pulls up Thursday, right? So it actually adds it to a Thursday event. So the other thing is you can do, you can hit the letter Q, right? And then a quick ad opens up. So you can say, call Chevy, right? And I like to put their phone number in there, right? 801-555-1212, right? I can do June 16th, right, at 9 a.m. So, and I think you got to do the colon 9 a.m., right? So, and then I just hit add. Boom, it puts it right on my calendar just like that. I don't have to go through all that fussing. And because I added it to my main calendar, it has my main calendar defaults. So you get it's great to put their phone number in there. Because remember, I use my computer too. So I can just click on the ad. So if I open up the event, I can click on their phone number, right? Especially if you're in your car, right, on your phone, you just tap the phone number, bang, you called the person. You don't have to look them up. So, that's so make sure you're understanding how this integrates with your mobile devices. So make sure you're using, even if you have an Android, the problem with most people miss with the Android phones is, even though it's a Google operating system, a lot of the settings are based off of your service provider, Verizon, T-Mobile. So unless you have a non-service provider phone, so the default calendar on your phone is going to be the phone's calendar, not a Google calendar. So you need to make sure you set up your Google calendar on an Android phone. And then also, obviously, if you're on an iPhone, you need to set up your Google calendar too. So, but if you set it up, it all works together. You add an event here, it's on your phone automatically. It's not synchronizing. There's a difference between syncing. Syncing means you're going to take a Google calendar, add it to a T-Mobile calendar. So one will actually update the other. The difference between the two is your calendar lives in the cloud. It's just a question of which device you actually access that particular calendar with versus one synchronizes to the other. So it's important to make sure that if you're using Google applications, that you're actually using Google applications. So I would say that's kind of it for today. So just make sure, you put a call. Oh, Scott had the question, can you add a calendar event from an email? So if you click open an email, so you go, yes, you click on more, and then you go create event. You click on boom, now you create an event. So it actually adds, so the event name is the subject line. The email, right, whatever it is the email was, is now inside the body of the calendar event. And then you can choose what calendar you want. You can put an address. If you're going to meet somebody, then you type in the address where your appointment is. You can invite people to it. So then that's it. You just hit save. So we're going to save today. And then it says, look, invite internal guests. Because of the email came from Scott, I'm going to hit invite internal guests, send them an invitation. So now Scott's appointment read receipt is now on my calendar. He's been invited, and then I can edit it. And then you can even do a joint meeting because I have, is this, I don't know if that's, that's using Google Plus. So if you can actually have a video meeting right there just by clicking on the link on the calendar. So that's how you do that. I use a third-party calendar task management software. The thing about that, now this is a handy little bugger for a standard appointment, right? But the task management is a little, it's a third-party solution. It's $25 per year, right? $25 per year, not per month, per year. So, and it is a robust task management. So you can create action plans, let's say for buyer repsy, right? So let's go to a buyer repsy. So we're going to say new buyer repsy. We click on this down here. Hold up. All right, well, it's going to refresh itself. It says I was logged out. So I clicked on the buyer repsy thing. So then this here has initial process. Now you can create and modify these yourself, right? So these are all the tasks of a repsy. So you walk through and you can check them off. So what you do is if you have one, so what you do is you go back to your inbox, eh? So here's your inbox. These are overdue. They're from 2014. So you can say due in a week. Pulls up everything due in a week. You can create another one of these for like due in a month, right? Overdue, tacit or overdue. But let's say you have this default template. So what I would do is I come in and I would say create new. I would say duplicate, and then I'm going to create I'm using that one I created as a template. So I'm going to create a copy of that. And then, so now I'm going to rename it. So what am I going to rename it? I'm going to use the same naming convention I used before. I'm going to use Chase, right? That's the client's last name. I'm going to use space slash space, 123 Main Street, right? And then I'm going to do, the full city, right? Salt Lake City, Utah, 84101, and I'll show you why that's important. Then we'll do space slash space. Then we can just say, purchase contract or something, whatever you want to call it. You can just call it repsy, right? So now, but that's the name of the task. So now we created that task. Let's go back to what happened to my screen there. I don't know what I did there. I hit a tab or something that was supposed to just go to the what I was trying to do. So let's just go back to the main screen and let's just go back to GQs. We'll go back to the, so we'll go back. Now it should have been created down here over my left. If it didn't create it, I just got all kinds of reminders from it. So let's see, Chase, it didn't save. Oh, there it is. So Chase, so there's my Chase. Now, here's the reason why this is important to have all this information up here, right? Is you can, what am I looking for? Order title, right? So you got to order the title. Where is order title? That's on a listing. You can say send, let's go to loan. So if you want to, so in other words, you can attach this. You can invite somebody to an event. So let's say we're going to request seller disclosures. So I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to go ahead and add a person, right? I'm going to add a plus sign. I'm going to type it in there. I'm going to do Scott at Scott Stein, right? At scottstein.net. And then I'm going to add that event to Scott, right? So what is it? So now what happened is Scott just got an email. Now his email is, say he's the listing agent. The email is going to say request for seller disclosures. It's going to give the client's name. It's going to give the property address, and it's going to have the repsy. So when they get the email, so actually let's do I'll do my own email so we can kind of see that, right? So let's edit that. I should have just done my own, right? So assign. Let's see. Let's delete Scott. Add another one. So I'm just going to do rob@aubrey.net, and then I'm going to say boom. Rob@aubrey.net is going to get an email, and then I'll find that email. So here it is. So here's the email. We'll pull that open, and then there it is, right? So new assignment, request seller disclosures, and there's all the information. So you just sent that to the listing agent. So bang. So you can do the same thing with a title, right? All the information they need right here, right? Order title, make that an event. You do that in a listing task, and it says order title. Bang, you just ordered the title. So there's the listing task, and that's where it would work. So order preliminary title report, log in, put in your escrow officer's email address, done. Right? You make a copy, put the client's name, the property address, full address, and then you can just say, click add their email address here. You just ordered title, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So you can do the same thing with order photos, put in your photographer's email address, and then not only that, you can actually add notes. So you can just say, call the seller, call me, vacant, go anytime. You can actually attach a file. You can add tags. Tags are for further sorting. So this is a third-party application. So it's great for creating a whole action plan, you know. So $25 a year. If you get a full-on Google applications, this is a premium account for Gmail. So I have this one's actually free. They were free at one time now, but now they're $50 a year per seat. So I have one more leads as my domain here. This is my kind of my demo account, and then and then if you do the full Google applications, it's $50 a year. You do the GQs, $25 a year. You have a very, very powerful system for $75 a year. The other thing too with this is, so if we go here and let's say we go back to due today, there's nothing due today. We can create a new task, hit the letter Q. It's got a quick syntax box. So there's some things you need once you learn how to do it, like we're in the inbox. So I can come down and say call. I can put, call Chevy Chase, right? And then I put in a phone number 801-555-1212. I can put today, and then you have to use the @ sign. So today at 11, and you can just do 11 a.m. Then there's this symbol there equals for the reminder. You can just say 5 email, which means it's going to email me 5 minutes in advance. I can do pop-up if it's attached, if you have your phone number embedded in there. And then that's actually going to create a calendar event on my Google Calendar based on the GQ's calendar, right? So 11 a.m. today with a 5-minute email reminder. I hit save, and then when I go, so 2 things are going to happen. One, it's going to be in my due today task. It's also going to be on my calendar. So when I come in today, calendar, call Chevy Chase right at 11 a.m. Then when I come over to my calendar, or I go to my task and I've completed the task, I check it, it disappears from a due today. Then when I go back to my calendar, let's see, refresh. It should have checked it off. Oh, what was that? Continue editing. Oh, what the heck did I do? Let's go back to calendar. Discard changes. So because I checked it off on my task, it now put a checkbox on the actual event on the calendar itself. So you can look at your calendar and see that it's done. Pretty handy little bugger. So that's it. So that's today. Contacts calendar. Any questions? Scott, did that answer your questions? Anybody?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Just had to wake them up over there. Everybody awake? So it's almost noon, so it's time for realtors to get up, right? You know the old joke. It's the first thing realtors do in the morning, they go to lunch. So anyway, well, I hope these were helpful demonstrations and tips for all of you guys. We're gonna continue this every Thursday. I was going to do every other week, but I'm like, you know what? We'll be a month of Sundays before you learn how to use Google Apps. So I think we should just do, half hour to an hour every Thursday to go through this. The other thing is, for those on the phone, on the call, Aubrey and Associates, or even anybody, next, after the Google applications, I want to go through some basic, website blogging. So I want to do the Pro Agent site, hooking up a WordPress site to your Pro Agent, and then how to use that and how to actually use that inside of, say, social medias like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, right? So we're going to go through that, how your website is the hub. Everything evolves around your website, and then everything else is designed to bring traffic back to your website. So we're going to go through. So after the Google App series, we're going to go through the website series. Now, remember, these are recorded so that you could go back and watch these over. If you have questions, you kind of go through and see it again. So does anybody have any questions? I will take silence as a overwhelming loud no. So if that's the case, I'm going to stop recording and then hit stop